Assalamu alaikum to all those who have joined just now. What you need to know is whenever you are preparing for exam, you should be very clear about your own learning. Do not panic. Whatever you know, just go in the paper in a sequence. Do not go to the last question in the beginning because maybe that will contain a few things that may not come in your mind at that time. So you may get confused. So I suggest you just go question by question, and definitely you will be able to score and you will be able to achieve at least some decent marks in 1 hour also. And then slowly and gradually move further. You can move on to the question later. Now moving on to the first chapter number 7, from which our P2 is starting. The very first thing that we need to know, if I talk about the program development lifecycle, the 4 stages that is mentioned here: analysis, design, coding, and testing. And the 5th one is your maintenance. So I hope that you know what is it. The analysis stage contains abstraction and decomposition. By the way, do we know the terms, the 2 terms and their definitions? Abstraction means that you are going to just concentrate on the main task and you will ignore whatever is not needed. Like, for example, the best example is of where you will be moving on to you will be ignoring whatever is not needed and you will be concentrating on the main thing from where you have to move to where. That is what is called your abstraction. And then decomposition means that dividing them into subtasks. As you can see, we have learned it through structure. By the way, do we know what is coding? Analysis, design, then we have coding, then we have testing, and then we have last one as maintenance. Now, moving on to analysis, which we talked about abstraction and decomposition. I hope that there is no question regarding the abstraction I talked about right now. Abstraction means that you are going to concentrate on the main thing and you will ignore whatever is not needed. And decomposition means that dividing the main task into subtasks so that different teams can work on it, and it will not be done by any one person. Dividing the task among different members, different people is called your decomposition. Then we perform designing is done through either you're going to use structure charts, or you're going to use flow charts, or you're going to use pseudocode, as you have already learned. And now moving on to coding, just writing down the program is called coding, and you can use any programming language as per your choice. And then we have testing, which we have actually learned. By the way, do we know what is testing actually? Do we recall what is testing? Yes, this is what you can write in the chat window. Right now, you can write in the chat window, or if you want, you can unmute yourself and then answer also. Yes, children. Do we know what is testing? Have we learned the test data? Yes, I'm waiting for the responses. Exactly. And yes, Ali, whatever you have said, we are going to test that whether our code is working properly or not. And we do enter some test data for that. By the way, if you can recall, Ahmed, the test data means normal, extreme, and boundary. So you are going to work with entering your test data, which can be some normal values to see the impact of your program. You will enter some abnormal values to see the impact of your program and that how the program is going to respond. You'll be entering stream data to ensure that your program is running accurately, and definitely some boundary data also, that program will be accepting the one value and will be rejecting the other one. That we all can recall this, isn't it? Any problem to anyone regarding the testing? Okay. After that, we have, you can see computer system, subsystem, and decomposition, dividing the main task, or the main system is subdivided into subsystems, and then those subsystems are further classified into more subsystems until they are not further divisible. That is what is called decomposition. So you can see here, decomposing a problem. For that, you need to know what are the inputs, what are the processes, and what are the outputs, or what are the outcomes. And then what is the storage. An example is mentioned here for an alarm app, which you can refer to. But otherwise, this is what you need to know as far as structure charts or structure diagrams are concerned. This is your structure diagram, subsystem, system 1, and it is divided into subsystem 1, subsystem 2, subsystem 3, just as an example. And this subsystem 1 is further classified into 2 more, so they are mentioned as 1.1 and 1.2. And it means that subsystem 2 has no further classification. Subsystem 3 also has no further classifications. That's why we are stopping here. And no further division is done for this question. It depends upon the question. See, an example of an alarm app. Alarm app has 3 subsystems: set alarm, check time, and sound alarm. And again, one important thing that you need to know is inputs are always in the beginning, processes, if any, are in the middle, and outcomes or outputs are always in the end. This is one example where you have input in the form of set alarm, processing is the checking of the time, and sounding alarm is the last stage, that is your output. This set alarm is further classified into set time and turn alarm on or off. We have check time, which for the classification, and then we have in the end output. In this we have check off, snooze, or reset or clear your alarm. I hope that we all are, someone had raised a question regarding the testing phase or the testing of the data. I hope that we all are clear about normal test data, abnormal data, extreme test data, and boundary test data, isn't it? Any questions regarding this topic? Yes, are you clear about it? Now, moving on to the next thing. This is just an example, and you can see that there's one more, which the paper that I have shared with you, the paper that is being solved, that is containing one of the questions of your structure diagram also. So that is one question is which we discussed in the class. Just remember, very simple thing is what you need to see in the question. Okay, what are the inputs, what are the outcomes, and what is the process? And just see, and you can underline. A very important tip that I can give you is, whenever you get the question paper, keep pencil in your hand, and for each question underline the key thing that are striking your mind. Okay, what should be done? For example, if it's input, just write down I there. If it's processing, then just write down process there. Similarly, output for or what output completely, so that you will know what is required. And once you are sitting for the actual solving of the paper, that will become very easy for you. If this tip you are following, that will benefit you a lot. Now, flowcharts, very simple that you need to know is you will be given flowchart with some test data, and you will be asked to put in the test data in the different values that are given to you. Mostly the test data is given to you, and you need to just follow this line by line, which you already have learned in the class, and then you can find out the answer that comes in the end. Very simple thing is sometimes you are even asked to tell the purpose of the algorithm. And algorithm means it can be chart, it can be pseudocode. So once you see the question, once you see the outcome of that question, you will figure out yourself the purpose of the algorithm. I mean, that's very simple. If you have understood a little bit of the programming, then you will be able to understand how to answer that question that deals with the outcome or the result of the algorithm that is given to you. It can be flowchart, it can be the pseudocode. Now, moving on to the, by the way, I hope that we all are clear about the flowchart symbols. Just a piece of advice that do not get confused with this symbol. By the way, this is your start symbol. This is your, you can say some procedure or function that you have to still learn that will be inshallah done in the next term. This is your decision box. This is your box. And then we are stopping it by using this stop. Start and stop are similar in nature. Now, the same is mentioned here. Again, you don't have to worry at all. It's something that is being repeated. You can see the boxes here. The symbol is we're going to deal with that. The same thing will be defined somewhere else, and we call it our procedure or function. Procedure or function. Now, moving on to the pseudocode writing you have done. I hope that we all are clear about this, but one thing is that you need to be cautious about the plus sign, minus sign, multiply is different. That is the use of asterisk. Division is done with the slash symbol. This is the symbol for the power. And then we are going to group the values. We are going to group the values by using the brackets. Like the example is, these are all your mathematical operators. And this symbol is for assignment. Remember, the position is always from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. The direction of this arrow is towards the left-hand side. Please remember this. You have to be very cautious use of your of your arrow. The position is very important. Now, moving further, we have pseudocode. And by the way, this is logics, or I mean, you can hear it in different styles. But actually, every question that you are getting in the paper is either going to contain, definitely, it is going to contain sequence logic, means instructions will be followed one after the other, as you do in class, as you do the whole day. You wake up in the morning, you do activities one by one, and these all are called your, you can call them your sequence logic because you follow them one after. Then we have the condition checking where we make decisions. Like, for example, what to eat. What do you want to have in your breakfast? That will be your condition checking statements, real life also. And as far as pseudocode is concerned, we handle it in two ways, if and case. And please remember the difference between if is used when. By the when do we use if? Answer from your end, when do we use if? Yes, children. Do we know when to use if, when to use the case statement? I think this is the answer which this is, I guess, everyone can answer. Yes, I'm waiting for the responses, please. The children. Exactly. When you have two options, then we always go for case. And yes, am I saying correctly? When we have two options, we always go for case. Am I correct? Yes. When you have two options, you go for if. When we have more than two options, we go for case. Be clear about the term options, because if you are asked to explain the if situation, you are asked to explain the case situation, you need to know the use the right words. When you have more than two options, then you always go for case. And remember, the statement of case is again very simple: case of, and then the variable. And then you write down all the conditions and be clear. By the way, looking at this A within quotations, looking at B within quotations, what strikes your mind? Looking at C within quotations, what kind of data is it? And by the way, if I to what myself, what do you want to see? If I've missed out any of your messages, then please do let me know, because just one thing is the keywords are supposed to be written in capital. This is what we have been telling you repeatedly. If you really want to, how can you differentiate between a variable and can say something that is reserved word? So remember, input, output, if, then, else, and if, case of, otherwise, in case, these all are the keywords and they have to be written in capital. And as far as variables are concerned, you better write down the first letter of the variable in capital, and then the rest of the values are supposed to be in small. But that's again a convention. Now, if I don't ask you, I have a question. A written within quotations, which data type does it denote? And by the way, with data type, what do we mean? If you can recall. I've talked about the term testing. Testing means normal, abnormal, extreme, and boundary. I hope that we all are clear about that. If I say data types, yes, quick. I have been telling you repeatedly, I think we all have learned this very well. The data types means string, char, integer, real, and the last one is Boolean. By the way, what is it? A within the quotations, double quotations means what is it? Yes, correct. Thank you very much. This is what we all know, that it's a string value, and that is what you can see. It means that grade is a string data type and its value is A. So write down the message is going to be excellent. If this is not the situation, then if the input that is given in grade is B, it means that you have to output good. In case the input is C, then output average. Otherwise, if all the other options are incorrect, then otherwise output improvement. And in case, again, remember, again, just see the sequence. Case of variable name, it could be any variable. And the variables are normally given to you in the question paper. So you simply need to refer to the question, whatever it says, you have to refer and then write down that variable name. Now, if then else and if, I've talked about that it is used when you have two options. And one more thing that I've shared with you on the group, it also contains these discussed. So you don't have to actually go through each and every line of the book right now. Just refer to that stuff, and that will help you in quick comparison. One caution regarding the comparison operators is less than, greater than, equals to, greater than or equals to. I've seen many times students are using greater than or equals to just the way you do it in math. Be cautious. It should be greater than or equals to written the way it is here. Less than or equal to in the same manner. The way you do it in computer science is different, and the way you do it in math is different. So do not confuse yourself, and you have to use the less than or equal to in this manner. And be cautious, this bracket, angular bracket, is for your not equal to. I hope that no confusions are there regarding these symbols and their use. Now moving on to case of otherwise and case another example. By the way, looking at this, you can see choice is looking at this data. One, what do you think is the variable, is the data type of the variable choice? Case of choice, 1, 2, 3, 4, otherwise output, please enter a valid choice. So what do you think? Looking at this, what strikes your mind? Yes, come on. I want the answer, please. If you look at this data, choice and the variable values, what strikes your mind? What kind of data is it? What is the data type? Correct, Mubashir, but if I am very much talking about, okay, now, okay, I'll do that also. Data type is going to be string, char, integer, real, and Boolean. And I hope that we have learned it and we are okay with integer means the without decimal part, the numbers. And real means decimal part. With decimal part, we have numbers, and string is double quotations, and char is single quotation and one letter, and Boolean is a yes or no. Remember, Boolean is two situations which are resulting in a yes or a no. That is called a Boolean value. Be clear about it. And I hope that, again, I have not missed out on anything. Okay, now, Amar, I'll definitely look at your query also. Definitely, I'm here for this. Now, moving on to this example, one very important thing that you need to know is the three loops that we have learned. A for loop, that means when you know the number of, when you don't know the number of iterations, you always go for loop. When you don't know the number of iterations and you want the work to be done at least once, you go with repeat. And when you want to go for iteration and a while loop is going to may not work even once. So this is what we need to see. That again, use depend upon how you want to handle. And again, the question paper that I have shared with you, that question of arrays, where output of name was only needed. So please remember, when output is needed, it means that you don't have to go for input at all. It means input is already given and you only are required to output. And that was a 3-mark question. The ones who have seen the video that I shared in the morning. So loop structures are basically 3. When how many times the work is supposed to be done, you go with for loop. When you don't know, then we either go for conditional loops that are either your precondition, that is while loop, or you go for post condition, which is your repeat until loop. And while loop is going to may not work even once. As you can see, please be very clear about these 3 lines. A set number of repetitions is for to next. A repetition with the number of repeat is not known, that is completed at least once. Kam az kam ek martaba is going to be repeat until. And a repetition with the number of repeats is not known, that may never be completed. May never be. They are saying may never be. Then you go for end while do and while. Be cautious. And an example is given to you. A similar example was discussed with you people in the class also. Here they can see the example is it's going to print 10 times your asterisk. So you are going to do it with for. You can see for count equals to 1 to 10. Output asterisk next counter. It will do the work 10 times. And it will print this asterisk on the screen. Same task done, but now you can see we are using a variable counter. And we are initializing this. Please be clear, it's initializing. Counter equals to 0, repeat, output, asterisk, counter equals to counter plus 1, until counter greater than 9. Means till the time the value of counter is not above 9, it will keep on working. And again, remember, repeat works when the condition is false. So it will work. And the moment the value of counter has become a value above 9, it will stop. It will stop immediately. Now, moving on to the next stage, the same question handled with while. You can see while counter less than 10. The condition is true. The value of counter is 0, 0 less than 10. Condition true, it will enter. It will output the value of, it will output the star. counter plus 1, and end while will send it back. In this manner, the loop will work 10 times basically from 0 to 9. And the moment the value is increased by 1, the value becomes 10, it will stop working because counter value has become 10. Counter less than 10, condition is not met. So it will not enter the loop, it will move out of the loop. So I hope that this is, again, a lot of questions have been done by everyone. So you'll be able to understand. Please don't I suggest you that at the moment, don't go through each and every line of your book. Just go through the main stuff, and then inshallah, you'll be able to manage the paper, inshallah, tomorrow. Now, moving to this example, by the way, who can explain that input student name counter? Why is it done? If you remember, the moment you write down this, it indicates that you are using what? I think we have talked about it. Yes, exactly. Thank you very much for all those who are answering correctly. Thank you very much. That basically the moment you are writing it down, basically it's very simple. If I talk about this situation where I am taking input, it means that the values will be overwritten. I don't want this thing to happen. I want the values to be stored. And for that, I am going to use this location. This is me. That means that the values will be stored in their respective locations. Counter starting with 1, going on till 10. Yes, it is array. It is array, Ali. That is correct. Now, input student name, if I don't write it down, then definitely even in the program, even in pseudocode, that is wrong. And program will stop working. It will give you an error because that indicates that that array has been used. Just remember this simple tip that whenever you are working array, you have to use the subscript number. Otherwise, your array will not be considered as an array. Please be very cautious about it. Now, moving to the next thing, while I've talked about input, we have been doing, and I think it's very simple. Just remember, with input, we don't use quotations. We simply write down the variable name. So here it's input name, input student mark, and please again be cautious that what are we using here is we are using student mark. There is no space in between. Be cautious. This is what we have already learned. Either, I mean, it's up to you. If you want to take a variable which is like student mark or student name, remember there's no space in between. I mean, that is again the convention that we need to follow, but that is what CIE wants us to follow. Output, again the same thing. Output is done in 3 ways. Either you have a variable with output, or you have a message only, or you have a variable and a message. So there are 3 ways. Up to you what you want. Based on the requirement, we decide which output we are going to use. Either I'm going to use output or I want to use output with a message. The way we say, please enter your mark. For example, you can see here, enter value for mark -1 to finish. So this is a message, and that will be needed only. I don't have any done here. So that is why I will simply write down this output statement where a message is given with the double quotations. On the contrary, if I have a message and a variable, then I will be definitely going in the same manner. Depends upon the question, and then you will decide accordingly. Explaining the purpose, again, I said, you go through the algorithm, take your time, maybe a minute, do not panic. You will be able to figure out the purpose of an algorithm very easily. But because that is simple real life things that we keep on encountering, and that is what you need to figure out and do it. And please always rely on yourselves, always rely on your own learning. Inshallah, you will be successful. I'm quite confident about it. I suggest you have a question raised by some student that if they say they do it with for, or if they say they do it with an efficient loop structure. So if out of these 3, which one do you think is the most efficient loop structure out of these 3? Is for the most efficient one? Is while the most efficient one? Or repeat until? So definitely if the for loop is the while. So for this reason, if you're doing it with while or repeat until, then that will not gain you any mark at all. Means that you are giving a bad impression on the examiner that you don't even know that what do they mean here. So be cautious. If they ask you to do it with the most efficient, then you have to use the for loop. By the way, totaling, maximum, minimum, counting has been done repeatedly. I took a class last week, so I hope that you all are clear. But one thing I need you to all remember, whenever you have totaling, just remember that you need to initialize the variable with a 0, that variable that is used for for totaling purpose. Then you have to use definitely the loop is supposed to be used there. Then you have to use total. For example, the variable is total. So you will say total equals to total plus the next variable. That is what we need to know. On the contrary, counting is when you have counting equals to, for example, the variable is pos count. So you will say pos count equals to pos count plus one. So plus one indicates it's counting, and totaling is indicated by the same variable used twice and plus the second variable. I hope that this is the tip that we all have learned. And counting always involves again a loop. Maximum minimum always involves a loop. So this is what we need to remember. Otherwise, maximum minimum, again, very easy. We have learned it, that how will we initialize the maximum variable, how will we initialize the minimum variable, and we have to start the loop, and then we have to go for the if condition. And then please, you can see for yourself, you can handle maximum and minimum with separate ifs. Do not go with else if, please. Remember, else if is used when you have same situation, but options are different. Like, for example, I can say grade. Grade is either assigned as A or A star or B or a C or a D or etc. So then you are always going to use else if, but please refrain from using else if in this situation. That is not a good programming practice. Always handle it with two separate ifs, one for handling the maximum, second one for handling the minimum. Again, let me tell you, we have one more method handling the method of handling the maximum minimum. You take input, store it in the beginning, and that is your maximum or the minimum. So, okay, now, are we clear? Now, moving on to the next material that we need to study, we already have studied. Again, the practice that you have done is going to be enough. You don't have to worry at all about the other stuff. Please, linear search, we did in the class, but not for tomorrow's paper, please. And then same goes for bubble sort. Like for my students, I'm saying that do not worry yourself that bubble sort has to be also understood, etc., etc. So just keep yourselves restricted to what we have shared on the group regarding the syllabus. Okay, now the next topic, I hope that validation and verification. We all are okay with validation checks. We all are okay with verification. And please be clear, verification means it is two methods are applied for verification. The first one is your double entry as you applied in password. For example, when you are creating an account, you may have seen that you are asked to re-enter the password. That is your verification. And second situation of verification is visual check, where you have some source document, and from the source document, you are going to write something on the screen. Like definitely, it could be your essay, it could be the marks entry, it could be anything. So once you are done with that, what we do is we do verify that whether the whatever is on the source document on the paper, is it also available, and that is what is behind your verification process. I hope that we are clear about that. Now, validation is simple, where we apply validation checks, like your presence check means important fields should not be left blank. Length check means at least some number of entries are supposed to be there. Like, for example, if I say password should be at least 8 characters. That is basically your length check. Same is applicable on maybe data like phone number. Phone number is exactly the number of characters that as are needed are supposed to be entered. So that is again, okay, now be clear. I'm using the word characters for phone number because phone number, although contains digits, it should be declared as a string value. I hope that we all are clear about that, why it should be a string value. Ambiguity regarding this, isn't it? Now, moving on to the next thing. Type check, the right data type should be used. You're not going to, for example, if the data contains digits only without a decimal, then you are not going to declare it as a real value. That is what is the purpose of your type check. Presence check, important fields should not be left blank. For example, if email address equals to, you can see email address equals to quotations open, quotations close, means that your email address is empty, then definitely it has to give you a message that required. And that is what is the presence check. That important fields should never be left blank. Your email ID should not be left blank. Your password should always be entered. That is what the presence check is doing. Now, moving on to what you need to know is the check digit. What kind of errors are detected? This is what you need to know. For example, incorrect digit is entered, it will be able to find it out. If a transposition error has occurred, or if it's an omitted error, omission error, or you have entered something extra, then that will also be detected by the check digit. Or if you have heard the things wrong, that is phonetic error, that will also be detected by the check digit. Now, moving further, verification, as I said, double entry and screen or visual check. Either you say screen check or you say visual check, they both mean the same. I hope that we are clear with that. Okay, now, moving further, any questions regarding visual check? Any questions regarding double entry? Now, test data, as I said earlier also in the beginning session, test data means it will be normal, means acceptable, abnormal, should be rejected, extreme. By the way, will extreme be accepted or rejected? Is extreme accepted or is extreme rejected? Yes, extreme will be accepted because that is the least available and the maximum available. That's why it will be definitely accepted also. So just remember the test data is going to be normal, abnormal, extreme, and boundary. Fine. Now moving on to boundary, we know that one below the least acceptable, one above the maximum acceptable, that will form your boundary. Boundary always involves two values. Now trace table, you have done practice of. I hope that will not be a problem for you now. We have done a little bit of the practice, and okay, now yes, I'm going to do it. Just no worries. I'll be doing paper one as well. No worries at all. Achha, identifying errors. Although while teaching you, I have told you that these are, like for example, I've written something wrong, and I asked you what is wrong there. So then you were able to identify. That was something as an activity that we did, but that will not be assessed in tomorrow's paper. So you don't have to worry at all regarding the rectification of errors, please. Boundary data means that two values are supposed to be there. Like if I say 1 and 100 are the extreme values. So 1 and 0 will be the boundary set. 1 will be accepted and 0 will be rejected. And 100 and 101 will be again boundary set. Second value, 101 will be rejected and 100 will be accepted. So I hope that you are clear about that. Okay, now moving on to chapter number, now again, a lot of practice questions are there. I request you that practice from your booklet. That will help you a lot. Now moving on to chapter number 8. Again, something which has been a little repetition of what we have discussed right now. So you don't have to actually go through it once again, please. Children, again, I'm requesting you. You may practice on the past paper booklet, but do not just go through the book at the moment. Otherwise, you may get confused. Not right now, not today. And definitely, please take sound sleep. Do not take the paper with like staying away the whole night. That will not benefit you at all. Have faith in yourself, have faith in Allah, and inshallah, you will be successful. I'm quite hopeful about your learning and hope so that you're also confident about your learning. Any questions regarding this chapter number 7 before I move on to chapter number 8? Yes. Yes, children, any questions from chapter number 7? I hope that we all are clear about this chapter number 7. Yes.